Hey everyone. Wow. The Liberals are desperate to rig the election come this October in their favor. And if you question that, well, then you've obviously not been paying attention to what the federal Liberals have been doing to stack the deck in their favor. Well, let's start out now. Well, first, let's not forget about whether it's the mass immigration push, and we've seen a lot of immigrants end up voting for whoever brings them to the country, and under that auspices, well, you're talking about the federal Liberals, and that's just the legal immigrants. Let's not forget about the asylum seekers who've been pouring across the border to the tunes of tens of thousands per year, all based on Trudeau's tweet, right? Come one, come all. Oh, Canada will welcome you. Gee, I wonder who these illegal asylum seekers might end up voting for come this October. And how about that $600 million media bailout that Trudeau and his federal Liberal counterparts have now offered the establishment media in this country? Do you think they're going to give the federal Liberals good positive coverage during the run-up to the election? Yeah, I think so. Now, the one area where we have to push back against institutionalized power or institutionalized opinion makers and thought leaders, such as the established political parties or the media landscape, social media, well, that's another area. You got federal Liberals out there now trying to suppress and deny anyone that doesn't align with this progressive collectivist leftist ideology from having their say. And they're using bully and intimidation tactics to make sure even the CEOs, the executives of these social media platforms, are yielding to the whims of the ruling class in this country. I mean, you've seen the kind of rhetoric these people are espousing, and the finger wagging, and actually not just finger wagging, even the pretense of criminal charge towards people such as Mark Zuckerberg or Sheryl Sandberg for daring not to show up to the public spectacle, to that public inquisition that they attempted to do towards the social media execs. Like I say, the Liberals are desperate to make sure that they're going to get a second term after this October election. If you need any further proof, well, I got it for you. Headline of the Globe and Mail, Politics exclusive. Elections Canada hires social media influencers to get out the youth vote. It's being reported by Bill Curry, June 5th, 2019. Oh yeah, once again, folks, in case you don't realize, the youth vote, guess what kind of party people that are considered the youth of the country usually tend to show up and vote for? Yeah, the Liberals, progressives. And that's not just my opinion, folks. There's some serious historical precedent that validates that claim. Heck, there's even expression. If you don't vote for Liberals when you're young, you have no heart. And if you don't vote for conservatives when you're older, you have no brains. Or something along that lines. That's not a direct quote, but it is a genuine representation of how things usually unfold in the political process or the voting intentions when you're talking about people in their youth or people who are much older. Yes, there's exceptions to the rule. Yes, there are outliers. But as a generalized statement, young people tend to vote liberal or left. Older people tend to vote conservative or right. So once again, this initiative is all about getting more votes for the federal Liberals come this October. Election Canada is launching a campaign this month that will see the independent agency pay YouTubers, musicians, and other social media stars to promote voter participation in this year's federal election. Oh, so that's the thing. While they're trying to silence and suppress, that's what this is all about. I've been wondering why. I'm just kidding. I don't know if this is the case or not, but yeah, a lot of us out here are seeing our YouTube channel have much, much less views per video. And the subscriber count, well, for me, I can just say, and a lot of people have been saying the same thing, has been, what's going on? I can't seem to get my subscriber count to grow at all. I don't know what's happening. But stuff like this definitely makes me even more suspicious. The $650,000 campaign will target demographics with below average voter participation rates, particularly young Canadians. The challenge for the nonpartisan agency is that the voting patterns of specific populations, such as youth, can differ from the national average. As a result, boosting turnout among young voters could benefit some political parties over others in the election scheduled for October 21st. Yeah, no kidding. In an interview with the Globe and Mail at Elections Canada headquarters in Gatineau, Chief Electoral Officer Stéphane Perrault said he understands that such campaigns are politically sensitive. He said Elections Canada combed through the online postings of potential personalities to weed out those who were aligned with a political party. The final list of 13 social media influencers who have not yet been identified publicly were also required to sign agreements pledging to remain politically neutral in their public comments during the campaign and for a year after. Wink, wink. Right? What, you mean like how the CBC is our national broadcaster and they're supposed to stay neutral in terms of who they promote during the election, right? That kind of stuff? Do they got the same kind of lawyers or legal team as CBC does? Because as we know, they somehow figure out how to get out from underneath or skirt those rules. So once again, do I have any faith in the fact that these people are going to do what's right? No, because once again, that's all subjective and based on their interpretation of what right is. It's the first time that we've done this, he said. I have not picked these people, and I have to confess that I probably wouldn't recognize many of them if I were asked to. We're looking at influencers who are known in a range of communities, especially with youth, who are known on social media platforms, and we're using those influencers to invite Canadians to go online and register. Hey, funny. I never got no call. Nobody ever reached out to me, and a lot of people that I talk to and associate with, which actually were, a lot of the people that I deal with, and hey, I'm a Canadian YouTuber, and I know quite a few Canadian YouTubers, and so far, none of the people that I know have been reached out by these people. So once again, how much you want to bet that these people come from the left side of the political spectrum and will be recognized for where they place or where they align themselves politically? They don't have to say a word, but if you know those people or their past political preferences or bias, well, they don't have to say anything to say who they're going to support. The people that consume their content will already know. So I guess that's how they'll skirt or try to avoid those rules. Once again, folks, these people know how to manipulate things, and that's one area where they kick the right-wingers or the conservatives' butt all the time. The conservatives, the people on the right side of the political spectrum, they are terrible. They pale in comparison as far as knowing how to manipulate the minds of the masses. Elections Canada declined to release the names of the 13 influencers, but a spokesperson said they include Canadian Olympic athletes, television personalities, singers, songwriters, and YouTubers. A survey released this week by Abacus Data found a big difference between the voting intentions of younger and older Canadians. Among those between the ages of 18 to 29, the Liberals have the support of 35%, followed by the NDP at 24%, the Conservatives at 23%, and the Green Party at 14%. So as we're seeing, the younger Canadians tend to vote for Liberals. In contrast, the Conservatives have a strong lead among voters aged 60 and over, with 42% support. The Liberals are second in that age group with 31%, followed by 11% for the NDP and 9% for the Greens. The online survey of 1,500 Canadian adults was conducted between May 27th to 30th. A margin of error cannot be assigned because it was an online survey. However, the margin of error for a comparable probability-based random sample of the same size is plus or minus 2.6 percentage points 19 times out of 20. During the 2015 campaign, Elections Canada was subject to restrictions on promoting voter turnout after the then Conservative government changed federal voting laws. Gee, I wonder why the Conservatives would change that law, right? That's the thing with political parties and the process today. It's all about manipulating people and stacking the deck in a particular political party's favor. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal government reversed many of those changes, including erasing Elections Canada's ban on promoting voter turnout. Mr. Perrault was appointed in June 2018 to a 10-year term as Chief Electoral Officer. The lawyer and public service veteran first joined Elections Canada in 2007 as Senior General Counsel. For his first election as CEO, Mr. Perrault will be responsible for overseeing the implementation of sweeping new elections rules contained in Bill C-76, which was approved by Parliament in December. One of the biggest changes is a new concept called a pre-writ period, in which political parties and third-party interest groups face new rules, including spending limits. The pre-writ period begins June 30th, and Mr. Perot is meeting with political parties on June 13th to discuss their obligations. While political parties will continue to be exempt from federal privacy laws, they are required to have privacy policies in place by June 30th. So you get that, right? All political parties will continue to be exempt from federal privacy laws. Keep that in mind, folks, while the federal liberals or even their con counterparts or the NDippers, any of these established parties are out there saying how social media, oh, they're just not protecting Canadians' privacy rights. Well, the proof is right here that they don't have to, and you best rest assured that they're not going to. So once again, these people are absolute hypocrites. And the onus is on you as a Canadian to stop falling for this nonsense and stop supporting these corrupt establishment parties. The time for real change is definitely now, folks. Stop playing these games. Don't put off another election supporting the libcons, all right, in this country. Because I, for one, am sick and tired of this flip-flopping back and forth of these authoritarian collectivists spewing all kinds of rhetoric and benevolence, but the minute they get in power, after you've shown up to vote in support of them, completely upend and go the opposite way as far as their policy or their position and how they govern this country. I mean, come on, Canada. Aren't you sick of the same old crap? I know I am. The new law also requires social media companies that accept campaign ads to list the ads on a public registry. So far, only Facebook has said it will comply. Google Canada has said it will decline all campaign advertising because the rules are too complicated to ensure compliance. And that's for a company like Google. Imagine what kind of mess they've set up. Conservative MP Stephanie Kuzy, her party's critic for democratic institutions, said she is very concerned that Elections Canada will allow its message to be delivered by outsiders. That makes me very uncomfortable that public servants themselves will not be providing this content, she said. We always believed that Bill C-76 was about rearranging the laws so that they benefit the government in the upcoming election. Even though Elections Canada was prevented from supporting voter participation campaigns in 2015, that election that produced a Liberal majority government saw a 18.3 percentage point rise in the participation rate of voters between the ages of 18 to 24, jumping to 57.1% in 2015 from 38.3% in 2011. So, I mean, there you have it, folks. It's all right there. What more do you need? Actually, there's not a whole lot I have to say to add to that. I mean, it's pure vote rigging and stacking the deck in the favor of the federal liberals. And like I said, this is just one example. I've already pointed out multiple other examples and how the federal liberals are making sure they're reelected come this October. I, for one, hope the Canadian people are wise enough to not fall for this nonsense and to show up in large numbers in opposition to it. At the very least, they're a show of force and saying, yeah, no, we're not falling for this nonsense. Please, Canada, please send me the message that you're unwilling to go along with this kind of nonsense going forward. Please send me that message, because that way at least I'll know that I can at least have some kind of positive outlook for the future of this country. Because once again, if I see that the federal liberals are reelected in October with a majority government, well, at that point, listen, I'm just going to have to realize and accept the fact that this country is going down a path I want to travel. Definitely play an effect in whether I even want to continue being a Canadian citizen going forward. And that's something I've never had to say and never even thought about saying throughout my whole life until recent times. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.